across the studio and go truthing or faking. Catalina awaiting by the big ball. Good evening to you, Catalina. In this edition, allegations that the tunnels discovered by Israel military under the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City were in fact built by Israel. Tell us more, truth or fake?
Indeed, we're going to review these allegations, as many on social media are saying that the tunnels that the Israel Defense Forces discovered under the Al-Shifa hospital last week, they're saying that these tunnels were actually built by Israel and not Hamas. So let's take a look. Let's take a look from the beginning. On November 21st, the Israel Defense Forces posted these images of this armored door that they opened, located in tunnels underneath the Al-Shifa hospital. Then on November 22nd, the Israel Defense Forces posted this 9-minute long video on X where they broadcast images of what lays behind these armored doors. They actually found sinks, bathrooms, and they actually also found rooms with beds in them. Infrastructure that Israel says proves the operational center that belongs to the Islamist group located under the Al-Shifa hospital. So in the same week, on November 21st, Ehud Barak, a former Israeli prime minister, was interviewed on CNN by Christiane Amanpour, where he stated that it's already been known for years that some of these bunkers under the Al-Shifa hospital were built by Israel. These statements largely fueled claims on social media that the tunnels that Israel discovered and broadcast last week were actually built by Israel itself back in the 1980s. The question remains, were these tunnels built by Israel or not?
Ehud Barak seems to say they were, which kind of seems conclusive, but navigate through what you found about these tunnels, Catalina.
Well, Mark, based on facts, we found that these tunnels that the IDF published on X since November 17th are more likely to be Hamas tunnels than those built by Israel. We're actually talking of two different tunnels here. We'll explain. We'll start by stating that the existence of Israel-built tunnels is actually nothing new. As mentioned by Ehud Barak, it's known knowledge that Israel refurbished a complex in the Al-Shifa hospital in the 1980s. And even in 2009, Haaretz addressed these Israel-built tunnels, stating that Hamas leaders were actually hiding in the basement of these tunnels since they knew it wasn't a target because of patients on the upper floor. Czech News also investigated this topic where they did this map where you could see the buildings that belong to the Al-Shifa hospital. They explain that the building that we can see here in green is nicknamed the Qatari building since it was financed by Doha and built after Israel's departure of the Gaza enclave in 2005. The tunnels that the IDF discovered last week are actually located under this building complex in green. And here in red, this is the hospital complex that was built by Israel in the 1980s. That is so largely mentioned in the claims, under which there are also tunnels that might be occupied by Hamas or not. However, two different tunnels. Mark.
So, how do you tell the difference between a Hamas tunnel and an Israeli tunnel? I mean, clearly Ehud Barak being very clear, the one under Al-Shifa built by Israel. The question was, what was Hamas using them for? But what's the difference between the two types of tunnels? Give us more on that.
Well, Mark, to our knowledge, it's been difficult to obtain the plans for the underground infrastructure that was built by Israel back in the 1980s. However, YNET, as they say, offer us a rare glimpse into the Israeli architecture design for the hospital in this article that they published from 2014, where they published this photo of what the cellars look like in the Israeli-built complex under the Al-Shifa hospital complex, which appears to have no relation to those images that were recently published by the IDF. Images that experts do confirm have every characteristic of belonging to Hamas tunnels, including Daphne Richmond Barak, who was interviewed by Sky News. She actually visited these tunnels between Israel and Gaza, and she says that they have that they are consistent with Hamas tunnels. Hence, two tunnels that are different. One that belongs to the Israeli part of the Al-Shifa hospital, and the other that belongs to the so-called Qatari-built complex of the hospital, which corresponds to the images that the IDF published last week. Mark.
Indeed. The Israeli-built tunnels, one wonders how much they spent on that, how long it took, who was the architect. Hamas perhaps copying the same kind of structure, but it's certainly a fact that the tunnels are there and they were used, it seems, according to the IDF anyway, the Israeli military, for Hamas to launch all their project. Catalina, thank you very much indeed for Truth or Fake. Karis of the Business, thank you very much indeed too. And thanks to you all for watching wherever you are in the world. Stay with us, more to come live from Paris.